And we're live. Hey, welcome everybody. It's the Nerd Log. It's the Nerd Log episode 6 for those of you keeping the Nerd Log fan wiki up to date. Thank you so much. We got three kind of diverse segments to talk about today on three kind of separate sections of the site. We're going to start with Lindsay and Andrew, our guests, and Aaron's my co-host. Let's start with having Andrew. Boy, folks, I started that one a little too fast. I came in a little hot on the runway on that one, so I apologize. Let's start with Aaron. That's just one name instead of everybody else's name blended together, introducing himself.
Sure. So I'm one of the principal developer relations engineers here at New Relic, and this is my first time on Nerdlog. I feel this is like a rite of passage. Yeah. all of the developer relations team has to go through this at some point. So very excited to be here. Really looking forward to, as you said, very diverse segments. Like it's going to be a lot of things for me to learn as well. I'm really new to New Relic, so I'm looking forward to kind of seeing all of the new stuff that we're launching.
Well, and I love that because the fact is, of course, a lot of our viewers are New Relic users, right? Most people aren't going to sit down for half an hour about a software product that they don't use. But every time I have those conversations, we have whole sections of the product that people are like, "Oh, I've never used that," right? So, I love coming into it with like a beginner's mind because that's really where most even of our users are, because we present all this observability stuff all over the stack. And so, we just want to show how the product works. Now, and I love this is so much better than a Zoom call because I can see where everyone's located. So I can like point downwards and I know there really is someone below me. I really know where Andrew is. Now we'll do, Andrew, why don't you say hi to the nice people?
Yeah, my name's Andrew Ettinger, and I'm the engineering manager responsible for creating and shipping Lookout.
Nice. And is Lookout, is that our like internal secret name? Do we call it Lookout?
No, it's actually, we like to use our code names internally, right? Yeah. Until we actually ship code. Internally, it was known as 6 Cents, which had a lot of bad jokes attached to it.
I see.
But no, we shipped with the real name being Lookout.
Lookout. And I mean, I think for a lot of people, this isn't going to feel like a separate product or area. It's going to be part of their overall experience. But yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that after Lindsay says hello.
There's a lot in there, yeah.
Yeah, man, just blowing up our spot already. Yes, hello, I'm Lindsy Farina. I am the product manager on this cool product, Lookout. And it doesn't come with an exclamation mark, even though it could be Lookout. There is a little bit of that in there. So, if you feel like putting a little extra emphasis, go for it.
The exclamation point really changes the meaning, right? One is right. Lookout, like a high point. The other one, it's like a toaster flying at your head. That's Lookout, exclamation point.
Or like your service is on fire. Pay attention.
So this started off as like
both ways.
This started off as 6 Cents. What was the best internal code name that you know about then? What's been your favorite so far?
Well, you'll probably see it in the demo I'm going to give here as I walk through it, because we'll look at some of our own internal tooling. But the service name for that supports Lookout and provides the data for it is called Bork Sniffer, to find the Borks in your system.
All right, that's pretty good. We should see if we can roll that one out to the public someday, right?
Yeah, I think it should have a life outside of a GitHub repo.
Yeah,
it needs to breathe the air.
So we're starting off on kind of, when we say, oh, not everyone knows every part of New Relic, this is probably the part of New Relic that almost everyone knows, which is this is that list of services. We call them now this very general term entities, right? With the kind of key metrics on them showing up as our favorite dashboards listed.
Yeah, absolutely. And so this I wanted to show you, to your point about how do you find the thing, I want to actually show you where this lives so you know how to find it.
Yeah, we've already this is everybody at home. If you're in here, this is the first spot to do.
The first thing to do. So we've already done a demo, right, on the Explorer, the new Explorer experience. Is that right?
Yeah, that one last week, I believe.
And so Lookout's actually part of that new Explorer experience, where we want to give you that whole holistic view of how all of your entities, your applications, your hosts are working. And by default, it comes into this list view, like you just mentioned. We also
just in case people are not, Nerdlog super fans yet and didn't see the previous episode, this nice summary views, kind of default thing in New Relic. The problem becomes, especially in microservice architecture, the ability to show 20 or 30 entities, and their data is pretty good. Oh, you scroll down a little bit, but any kind of real world stack these days is often, hundreds, thousands, right?
Yeah.
So this first step is this Navigator, where you can see just the traffic light status on hundreds of things at once.
Yeah, and I think you also, the key here is that, especially for Lookout, you're going to want to still focus in on a certain entity type, and navigate there before you jump into Lookout, because we're really helping you focus in a particular entity area. Right now, you'll see that we've added that all entities on the left. And that's not currently something that we support for Lookout. So we're going to show you that message and let you know that you're going to need to jump somewhere else. But most people tend to spend their time in a particular entity type.
So
just tips and tricks
between the Navigator and Lookout is something like, if Navigator is 10,000 view, this is maybe 1,000 view, right? That when we start off by saying, oh my gosh, this thing looks so cool, I'm so excited to talk about it. When we start off with Navigator, it's like, hey, what whole area of our system might be down, right? Or might be going down, right? We say, oh my gosh, every single, container is in red. It sounds like our clusters are struggling, right?
Right.
But once for most of us, for our daily job, we don't manage the whole stack, right? So we need to look a little closer than that. So now we'll go to look at them. We'll go to 1,000 feet. We're in the drone now. We're not in the satellite. And
I think the thing to really call out here too is that the Navigator view is focused on your alerting. So it's that health status that you have to configure in order to get those traffic lights. And the cool thing about Lookout is that you don't have to do anything. You just have to have data. And if you have data in our DB, then we're going to be able to show you some information about your entities. Which is great because it means that there's no ramp up, right? It's just kind of go click and start investigating. And we try to make that really easy for you.
Instrument these applications with the basic New Relic agent, and we get this errors throughput response time graph for free, right? It's up and available. And that's a big thing I want to emphasize, much like our anomaly viewer last week, is that this is something you can do today. There's not a ramp time to it. There's not something where you have to be an advanced user. As long as you're sending New Relic production data or high throughput data, this should be useful information to you.
Yeah.
We've had a question in chat as well. Apparently they're saying this is a cool entity overview page, but when it comes to presenting a command center to a team on a big TV, it seems a little detailed. As you're saying, there's a lot of services being shown in this view. Yeah. So can we drill down into them, or how do we get them?
Yeah, so actually, if you just right on that screen where Andrew is right now, so I think we could probably step back a little bit and talk about the entire point of what this is.
Yeah.
We're showing you specific entities that are deviating from their norm, right? So something unusual is happening with that particular application that you might be interested in. And so if you wanted to filter by account, great, but ideally you're looking at everything in your account. You probably don't care about the gray bubbles, right? Nothing's deviating. So what you can do is you can actually click on the color scale at the top and focus only on the ones that have interesting data.
So what do the different colors mean then? Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's great. So you'll notice it's a scale of decrease to increase. And the thing that we want to make sure that you know is that increase doesn't necessarily mean bad. Decrease doesn't necessarily mean good. Gray is kind of more your good concept. Nothing significantly interesting has happened, right? And so some of it is around you understanding your service and what these golden signals are. So you might have a scenario where you have two services, one that you are ramping up to take the traffic and one that you are spinning down that you want to see throughput disappear. And so you might have a heavy purple circle where the traffic on one is increasing and a heavy yellow circle where the traffic is decreasing. And both of those things are good, and you're expecting to see that happen. There's some obvious ones, obviously you don't want your response time to go shooting way up, and you definitely don't want your errors to go up. So anything more in that increased zone is something that you want to pay attention to. The other thing of interest is the size. So while it might not be a big deal that you have a bigger circle in throughput, that just means you have a higher traffic app. but a bigger circle in errors, even if it's gray, is probably something that you want to look at, right? Because you have, what is that, 24,000 errors?
Yeah.
And of course, my dogs, this is live, people.
They don't think 24,000 errors is right either.
Yeah, they were like, errors, 24,000 errors, that's a lot.
They need to know that their family is in danger. And
exactly.
24,000 errors, they may well be. But yeah, I love that this is two-dimensional, right? That this is sort of, hey, this thing has a crazy increased response time. It's going from 11 milliseconds to 38 milliseconds. Well, that'll be a purple circle, but a very small one, right? Because it's responding super fast. Like perfect. Thank you so much, Andrew. It's like, this one that we're pointing at, right, is responding in, it looks like fractions of a second, tenth of a second. And yeah, it's way up. It's up to 1.87 seconds, but that's not really that big a deal, right? If you have something that's a huge circle, that may show you, whatever is going on with it, whatever way it's moving is maybe a little more something to care about. And then the next piece, because I really want to answer this question completely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, view options like what that the one on workloads might be relevant here. That would be really nice. The other thing that is kind of similar to workloads is we do of course have this filter bar up at the top where we can say, hey, we're looking at we're only looking at 110 services now, but we could add an operator here to say, hey, we only want things with this tag. We only want things with whatever particular value.
Yeah. I mean, you can the lookout view here in the Explorer is a little bit limited. We wanted to do this as kind of a teaser, right? Like it's showing you like quick views. But you'll notice if you click on one of those circles, so clicking on, we're going to actually give you a lot more information. So you'll see that spike, but then we also have this really exciting button that lets you go and do more. So you probably already got the kind of Explorer view, the quick and dirty, like this is what you can see. This is the interesting thing about this signal, but wait, there's more.
Yeah, a pretty common request is going to be like, oh, well, this lookout view looks great. I want to kind of refine it a little bit, and then I want to be able to share it. So let's take a look at the Lookout app to go a little bit deeper here.
Yeah, so when you dig into the actual Lookout application view, we're giving you a little bit more information about it. We're actually looking at the other performance signals out of the box while you're looking at your particular deviation. We're also comparing it against, same day, minute average, last week, last hour, just to see if you can see other variations in it. From any of these, you can actually jump back into the APM view for this thing.
Oh, I like this because, there's like, some of this realm of like anomaly detection, sort of like, why is this thing indicating this way? Because again, it's not a simple system. It's not a system where you just said, oh, if it goes over the special, make it red. We're just saying, hey, this thing stands out to us. And you get this really nice, really, really quick view of, hey, here's how this compares. And oh my gosh, this thing at the bottom left. So I tell this story every single stream. I'll tell it again because it'll be new to some of you, which is that I got my start doing New Relic tech support back in 2015, right before the IPO of New Relic. And I left to become a developer. But one of the things that people would ask for all the time, and they would try to even like build this with our very limited custom dashboarding at the time, is they said, I'm looking at this big spike. I want to look at it compared to yesterday, right? Because it's like, hey, we deliver lunches to people. Like, yes, there's a big spike. Stop buzzing my phone about that because it happens every day at 11 p.m. or 11 a.m.
Yeah, that's a great segue.
To abnormal history.
Abnormal history. I mean, I'm just excited about abnormal history in general.
Tell me every time this was a naughty behaving service.
I love this.
Can I just like,
but that's fine. That normal history of
call dibs now on having abnormal history as my my memoirs, like my book title. I think that's gonna make a good one for me. So I've already dibs it.
We should check to see if it's available to like a Twitter username. Like I have serverless mom, but I think abnormal history might be the next one.
I like it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I love this.
Yeah. So I mean, this is great because especially if you're coming in to Lookout for the first time and you're just trying to get the lay of the land and something is the first time you're seeing that it's deviating, to be able to go here and be like, oh, this is consistently a problem. And also noticing that you don't have any alerts configured around it. This is a great time for you to like marry those two products together and say like, okay, something is consistently happening with this service and I'm not getting alerted on it. So I need to go and like figure out what bounds I want to be looking at for this signal and get some alerting. We're going to have some really exciting integrations with a couple of new, more fancy features in the coming months that will have very specific ways to do lookout alerting. So be on the lookout for that feature in Lookout. But yeah, there's so much exciting stuff, and I think that one of the fun things that we might want to show off, even if we just close, because you'll see when we close this screen, there's a lot of activity happening in the main view. There's so much action here that even just from a starting point, it might seem daunting, right? Like you'll notice up in the upper right that we're, this is heavy, right? We're analyzing a lot of accounts and a lot of apps. And so this is going to kind of trickle in as we do that analysis. You'll also see that sometimes you have these kind of empty looking circles, and that just means we don't necessarily have data for the 2 time windows. And that is another thing that I wanted to kind of call out here. You'll notice that there's a comparison time to another time, and that's sort of a special snowflakes thing to look out, is that we're actually doing analysis based on two time windows. And we're saying like, tell me if there's a difference between this time window that I care about here and this other time window. And in the Explorer version, you're locked in. We do the last 5 minutes compared to the last hour. But with this view, you can actually change this. And this, Andrea, if you want to talk through, like, you have so many options for what you can do. And this is where if you have a specific team and you really only care about certain signals or certain applications or certain accounts, you can start building out your own queries.
Yeah, and this is really good. This is not my analogy. This is Sheen Rasal's analogy from the Lego group, is that you're in a very different situation if you do streaming media versus you deliver lunches to people's homes. And so your need for time windowing is going to be very different, right? You might even be asking if you sell, I don't know, children's toys like the Lego group does, you might be asking, I want to compare this to quite some time ago. I want to compare it to a really different phase in our sales cycle.
Right. And you'll also notice here that, obviously this is not just APM. We have golden signals baked in for browser and mobile and infrastructure and all of those other entity types right out of the box. So if you're a little bit afraid to do any sort of advanced custom querying, you don't have to, but it's also a great starting point.
So I'll before we wrap up, I'll make you define 2 things. Okay. One is APM, and the other one is golden signals. I bet I can handle APM, but help me out with golden signals.
Yeah, the golden signals. So New Relic with our new platform capabilities allows you to send in data from anywhere, right? And so we need a way to basically say, here are the things that I'm interested in for this particular entity type. And actually, I'm going to show you here real quick on how we make those definitions. Mostly just show off that this is open source. This is part of our open source initiative, and that you can actually go in and make a PR against our entity synthesis definitions if we don't support out of the box the golden signals for the entity type you're interested in. So to think, we all know applications, right? You've got error rate, your throughput, and response time. And for other things like AWS ALBs, right? They're going to have different metrics that you're interested in that are the core metrics that define whether or not that entity is behaving properly. And so actually, as part of our open source initiative, if we don't support the entity type that you're interested in, or if you're sending some custom telemetry into New Relic, you can actually go in and define it in here, and then you'll be able to analyze it with Lookout.
Yeah, I really like that, because of course, like what our thresholds are is going to vary a lot system to system, right? With APM, or application performance monitoring for the kids at home, when you're sort of monitoring a traditional application stored on a server, it's pretty consistent, right? What you want to know about it. But then there are times when you have maybe a back-end process, right? It takes 3.5 hours to update everyone's account every night. Well, response time is maybe even not measured, but certainly not the most critical thing about it, right? Error rate for sure, but maybe you have some other, signals that are the most important thing about what's going on with that service. So That's the constant golden signals. And as we expand into serverless and we expand into containerization, that's going to keep being a theme, right? Not only is where stuff is hosted going to change, but even what we care about that service is really going to change.
Yeah, I mean, and Andrew brought up a really good one. This is browser, and these come from kind of the most common metrics that are considered modern metrics for RUM applications. So the Google Core Web Vitals includes the 75th percentile of first input delay, largest contentful paint. So we went ahead and added those as the key things that you should be monitoring. So we want to keep, not only just the standard stuff like your throughput and your errors, but are there any special, like exciting metrics that we know that we can kind of be like, providing a little thought leadership there and get your eyes on those as well. So these will likely be, a consistent evolution of like what's recommended. I think custom metrics are coming, if not already available. So we have all that jazzy stuff.
We've seen customers do. You can also run custom NERCL queries. We've seen customers use this for like IoT devices to make sure they're connected. There's all sorts of applications now where you can rapidly monitor the rate of change using Lookout, using the telemetry signals that you're sending in already. So,
I think I saw we even have a custom one in there for Pi-hole before it got into that big list of AWS ones. So there already is kind of some IoT devices have got some definite custom or golden definitions in there. Yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. What does it care about? Total queries.
Yep.
Oh, interesting.
Ads blocked.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, I know we're probably zipping through, but I guess, should we jump back into a circle just to show a couple of the other features that we have for your analysis? So once you find something that you want to dig into, we kind of showed off a little bit about the fact that you could have other performance things. You want to be able to see, like, not only is this particular signal showing some sort of deviation, but like you see in a couple of those, there are multiple signals that are experiencing some sort of deviation over time, and that can be very interesting. And yeah, Andrew, you want to talk through some of the other tabs?
Sure. So we talked a little bit about abnormal history, which is great for finding periodic things. The other thing that we do look is broad across other entities that might have correlations to spikes that you currently have. So it looks like it's got this other entity, the UI source, that had spikes similarly in the event jammer. I have no idea what these two things are.
I love the names of both of these.
They're
things.
Great names.
They make me hungry. I want some meatballs and jam.
Yeah, I'm skipping lunch to be on this, so that's very inconsiderate name for that service.
Very sorry about our selection of stuff.
So that gives you the broader view of things in the neighborhood that might also be affected, and then we can also profile the attributes on the telemetry data you're sending in to see what's actually changing inside of that event data. So it looks like in here, none of these are really super interesting, small percentage changes. But like if a requesting account, you saw suddenly a large change in this evaluation window where like 90% of them were coming in from this account ID, for example, then you'd be like, well, that's probably related then to that attribute changing, right? So it helps you.
Oh, I like this.
Yeah, so you can tune into like what's changing in that telemetry data, so you can try and pinpoint where the problem is.
Yeah, you can get, you can obviously get really specific, especially when you're looking at things like, a browser type of application, like a front end application that's misbehaving. You could have your geography is very specific, and a particular type of, this whole population's on Chrome 80, and they're suddenly getting like some sort of wild misbehaving errors. And so it can help you determine also how critical it is to your business. So if for some reason, and this definitely happens, you just get a weird influx of Internet Explorer folks, you might not care as much because it might not even be a thing that you necessarily support in your business. So you can kind of say like, okay, well, this is deviating, but it's a population that we know we're not necessarily going to go after, but it's still really great to have that detailed information.
Does Microsoft even support Internet
Nope.
Explorer anymore?
Nope,
No, they're
they do
all
not.
edge now, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah, funny story. I was just telling a customer this, that we actually on the browser team had to put in a fix for Internet Explorer 6 because one of our customers had kiosks in I think it was like in an airport, and so it was something that they just like didn't have access to and couldn't fix, but still were monitoring. So yeah, we've done some wild things, but
well, and it's a really good
encourage
one, just because maybe you're up at night, you're trying to fix something, you know, someone saying, hey, everybody in this district, this enterprise is seeing this problem, and you can look really quickly and say, hey, this is a problem, but only for this kind of browser, which you know, maybe we're not even running here, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you could have thousands of errors that are one user, and that is not, you know, that's not a systemic problem that you really want to go after. So it really helps you kind of just isolate and, you know, without having to do any real configuration, figure out, you know, whether this is important, whether you need to like jump out of bed and fix the problem. Yeah. So now we're finding some like all the people in California.
Yes.
Exceptions. And it's San Francisco. Huh. We definitely don't care about them, right? That's not like half our company. Who cares?
Well, then you know it's not going to be a problem during Burning Man this year. So that's one statistic you have. All right, folks, this is great stuff. Now, if you had a new user who's you know, I often say it's great if you want to get started with you, like if you're in a boot camp or something, you want to report up and do some data analysis. If you're having to click, you know, refresh to get a single request into your server, New Relic, you know, you maybe want to get deeper with New Relic once you have some data coming in, even if that's load testing data, right? Just some kind of data coming in. But you have someone, they're at that level, they've got it installed on their first server, which is seeing some traffic. What's the quickest way for them to try out these new tools?
I mean, the quickest way is just click the button.
Click the button.
Right?
It's running. It's already running.
That's it. You don't, I mean, if the data is flowing, we are making these visualizations for you so that, you know, it's really an on demand. It's, you know, it doesn't matter if you have one account and 5 applications or 3,000 accounts and, you know, 10,000 applications. We're still going to be doing that data analysis for you. And that big, small, medium, it doesn't really matter, but it's something that you know, it can help inform decisions that you make throughout the product, which is great. You know, it helps you figure out where your, you know, where your blind spots are and where you might need to focus your attention right after you flip the switch to turn things on, which is great.
With Lookout, especially, you know, the data's, you don't have to do any configuration. It's already operating on the telemetry you're sending in. And if you're a smaller company and, you know, Lookout is looking at your rate of change, right, for all of this telemetry that's coming in. And so if you're a smaller company that's doing a little big launch, like this is a great way to get a great visual signal about how your launch is making an impact.
Yeah.
Because it's all about rate of change. So if you've got a little bit of data, it's still going to give you that rate of change.
Yeah, and I think, you know, you just brought up a great, I think, deployments, right? Yeah. I would just have this screen open at the moment that I did a deployment and say, like, did I miss the mark, or did something go horribly, horribly wrong?
Where are things on fire?
Yeah, monitor that staging environment, people. Monitor it before you click those things out to production. Very handy.
So we do have a question in chat as well, from a boot camper, actually. He's asking just like, you know, as somebody who is just coming into this brand new, who doesn't have a clue how to start, you know, what is the most important data that they should be recording in New Relic?
Oh, this is a great question. I love this. I'm going to answer this one.
Do it.
Okay. You know, as a boot camper, I want you to remember that when you're doing things like performance measurement, it's a lot like doing unit testing or even writing like commit messages in GitHub, right? These are things that you're practicing to get to needing them in production in sort of real life, right?
where it's not that you're going to do it and you're not going to be like, okay, well, this benefited you hugely, right? Like writing really detailed commit messages doesn't benefit you a ton when you're working alone, right? But it's just something we want to get into the habit of doing, right? And so a really strong way to start, we're actually going to be doing a stream about this either next week or the week after, is installing New Relic on your app, seeing, if you hit refresh, you get a single piece of throughput, and then grabbing a tool like K6, which you can find at k6.io, and sending some real traffic to your app, maybe right from your laptop for free. It's an open source tool, and seeing, hey, okay, it's able to respond to requests pretty quickly, but how is it able to handle 2 or 3 requests coming in parallel? Is the first request blocking the other piece of traffic? Those would be really solid ways to use New Relic as a very, very beginner. Or try New Relic browser if you're working more on the front end. Try installing the browser agent to analyze, how your front end performance is doing. But yeah, just my strong recommendation, less than like exactly what you're monitoring, is make sure you're using some kind of tool like K6 or even New Relic Synthetics, which will send these requests for you, to send in some traffic to like simulate that you have stuff going on.
And I'll just do another kind of tip and trick. Many of our APM agents automatically inject the browser agent, so you get that just out of the box. So you don't even have to do anything extra, just one install, and you get both of those things. And we're going to be making some improvements on that to also enable distributed tracing. So 3 streams of data that you can start getting visibility with one install, which is great.
Yeah, so if you're doing Rails development or like development in Flask or whatever else, you can just, if you're doing it full stack, you can just use the backend agent, right? And it'll just stick it in and it generates that HTML for you.
I did it in Django just after I started New Relic. Live on a New Relic stream, I was like, look, I'm going to learn in public here. I am going to, eat our own dog food, and hopefully our agent is going to just work. Because if it's not, I'm going to have to debug it on stream, because I honestly had never used it before. I'm a Python person. I've been using Django for a while. That I was confident on, was not confident on our product, because I was literally just in the door. And it's the commands. It took me maybe 10 minutes to read the docs and get up and running.
Awesome.
Even if you are in a boot camp and you're not sure what you want to log, it's not an awful lot of extra overhead to add it in. It was a pip install and then a different run command for my Django app, and that was it. I was up and running. I had the browser extension in, I had the Python agent running, and I was getting data into New Relic. So
awesome.
It's not an awful lot of additional work just to try it out either. And then, as you said, it's throw some data at it and then start looking at the metrics and see which ones become important to you. I would highlight as well, we talked a lot there about kind of performance metrics. Errors and logs, it's so important to me whenever I was first starting out, trying to figure out what was going on behind the scenes that was causing errors that I wasn't seeing, that my users are seeing, that I couldn't find, that I couldn't replicate, and having some kind of log of those and being able to trace, and my full stack traces, etc., was indispensable for me to figure out just where I'd gone wrong.
And I also recommend the transactions view too if you're using the APM agent, especially if you're a Ruby on Rails developer where there's a lot of extra help that's doing a lot of extra work for you. You want to know how Ruby on Rails works, for example, getting that APM agent in there and being able to look at the transaction view and see the breakdown on what it's doing under the hood. Can both help you develop, I think, as an engineer, but also help you optimize your application too, which is why we do the load test. We do the load test with our applications as well. So make sure that they can scale.
All right, awesome. So let's go ahead and I think close up. Unless you have something you want to plug, Lindsay.
I was just gonna show off really quickly some new stuff.
Right.
Just because you get to hear it here first.
Okay.
Which I thought was very exciting. We're going to be changing the screen up a little bit because we wanted to make things a little bit more flexible and easier to use. So instead of having to create a view or edit anything, you're going to be able to manipulate those times in the account pickers really easily from your views. So even just the out of the box views, we wanted to give you some quick access to some of the features, especially because, anytime you can save a click, awesome. And also our advanced query writer is now going to be taking advantage of the NERCL visualization that you all know and love, which is also great. And then if you clear out of this is just a prototype. Click on that top signal in the headline news, please. We are also going to be adding links to the top to let you manage your alerts and view anomalies. So if you do have APM apps that are which should now be monitored by proactive detection, we're going to let you see those. Have a quick link into that tool as well. So that's really exciting. We want to create as many quick integrations as we can from this tool so that you have as much visibility as possible. So, coming soon to a lookout near you. And that's it. That's my last shameless plug.
I forgive you. I like that.
Okay.
Andrew, Lindsay, SoundCloud album coming out. You got other stuff you want to plug? You want people to follow you on Twitter? Any of that good stuff?
I don't tweet. I'm sorry.
Okay. That's very wise.
You can hit me up on LinkedIn where the cool kids are.
Yeah. Good work. All right, Mia, I think we're ready to pop that. Be right back.
Woo!
To our producer Mia for running us through these amazing segments.